Welcome back to an episode of Let's Build Twitter. We are in episode 110. As always, if you do want access to the private repository for this project, it's down in the description below. Just follow the steps. Also, if you do want to hang out with me as I live record and figure things out on the project, my live streaming schedule is down there as well. Let's hop into what we work on today. In this episode, we wrap up the reply restriction dropdown by configuring the special component with the utility function we created previously and setting up and styling all of the choices the user has for the reply restriction. As always, I'm Ethan Coder, and let's hop straight into the development. For now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to need to go ahead and set up our state and everything. So we'll say const state is equal to use selector, and this is going to have our state, which is of type root state. We're going to return state.post here. We'll have our dispatch, so const dispatch equal to use dispatch, like so. And we need to make sure that we call this an app dispatch. Cool. And then we need const active and set active. We might not need the use effect, we'll see. And this is going to equal to use state, and this will be a Boolean set to false. And then we also need const selection and set selection equal to use state. This will be a string. And we'll start this out with everyone because that's kind of like the default unless we change it. All right, cool. So now we kind of have our states. We're going to need a couple other things, such as we're just going to set up some stubs here. Const handle open modal is equal to this. And then we'll say const handle change selection is equal to e.react react.mouse event. This will be on HTML input, or actually div element. And what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and this will just be set up like that. So now we are going to go ahead and make some changes. Let's go to this, and that is of course going to break things. And this is going to now be feed dash post dash reply dash restriction dash drop dash down. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say git drop reply drop down button. This will pass in the state, and then this will also pass in the callback function to our handle change selection. Obviously, well, actually no, this should be handle open modal. So obviously right now this isn't going to probably look that great, but it still has the text and everything. It's getting the modal as expected because it's just default at this current moment. Then below our get reply button, we'll go ahead and set up the actual drop down modal. So div class name equal to feed dash post dash reply dash restriction dash, and this is going to be drop dash down dash modal. So this is where our actual content is going to be. And inside of this div, we're going to have a style. And this is going to be equal to display question mark or display colon. And this is going to say, is it active question mark? If it is, we'll have a display of block. Otherwise, we'll have a display of none. So this is kind of similar to what we were doing previously in our other drop-down modal. And then we'll have an h2 with a class name equal to feed dash post dash reply dash restriction. And this will be drop down. I don't know why I switched this up, but whatever, dash title. And this is going to say who can reply question mark. And then we're going to have a p tag with a class name equal to feed dash post dash reply dash restriction dash, and this is going to say drop down dash subtitle. Again, I don't know why I did what I did, but choose who can reply to the post. We're going to copy and paste this once more just to save a little bit of time. And this one is going to say anyone mentioned can always reply. Cool. And now we can go ahead and start setting our choices. Now, we probably could have made these choices their own components and shared them across both of the dropdowns. That might be something we think about in the future. But div ID will be everyone for this one. And the class name will equal to feed-post-reply-restriction. And then dash, this is going to be drop down dash choice. And on click, we will call our handle change selection. And then we're going to have our choice left again. So div class name is equal to, and then this will be feed dash post dash creator dash reply dash restriction dash drop down dash choice, spell choice right, dash left. And inside our left, we'll go ahead and have a div class name. This is a little bit of a mess, I know. Div class name feed dash post dash creator dash reply dash restriction dash drop down. And then this is going to be a choice dash everyone dash pg, because this is going to be like that blue one that we need. And then inside here, we'll have our globe SVG with our height equal to 20. Our width will equal to 20. And our color will equal to, this one's white, so FFF. And then outside, we learned this lesson last time, will P class name equal to feed dash post dash creator dash reply dash restriction dash drop down dash choice dash text. This is just going to say everyone for this one. And then outside of the div, so outside the choice left div, we're going to go ahead and have our selection. Oops. Selection equal to everyone, question mark. This is another one, probably could in like a switch case or something. If this is the case, we're going to have our check mark again. So check for material UI, SX equal to, and let's go ahead and close this before I forget to close it and break everything. So now our SX, our color will be 1D A1 F2, so Twitter blue. And then our font size will be 18px, like, excuse me, hiccups, like so. And now that is our everyone. And now, assuming I can copy and paste this properly, we'll have this one. So now instead of everyone, we'll have follow. So now instead of everyone BG, although I think on this one, let me open up Twitter again really quick. Yeah, so on this one, all of them are just blue, so we don't need the everyone background. I can actually change this just to choice BG. This is something that I didn't quite catch, so I'll just change this to choice BG. All right, so now it'll be follow. The feed post creator, that'll be fine. But now instead of globe SVG, this is going to be people you follow SVG. And then now this will be people you follow SVG. This one will be people you follow, like so. And now instead of everyone, this will say if it's follow, we'll go ahead and put that check. I believe that one's good to go. And then we need to set up mention, so we can copy this and paste it again. So now the ID will be mention. And what we'll go ahead and do is instead of people you follow SVG, this will say mention for mentioned SVG with all the same height and stuff. And then this one is going to be only people you mention. And then this one will say mention right here, question mark, like so. So this is our code. Again, we probably could have figured out a way to kind of extract this into their own things and share a bunch of stuff, but it is what it is. I'm not that worried about it. Like I said, we could refactor and do some stuff like that. So So now what we're going to want to go ahead and do, set up these functions. The first thing, all we want to do is go ahead and just set active equal to not active. So whenever we click on it, it'll kind of open and close it, and fingers crossed. As you can see, it opens and closes. Now, right now, obviously it doesn't look great because the styling's not done, but it is what it is. And then the other thing that we want to do is go ahead and set up this handle change. So we'll go ahead and set selection. Oops. Set selection to e.currentTarget.id. So we'll get the current target and the ID, and we'll dispatch. We're going to dispatch and update current post. And in here, we're going to have the name will be reply restriction. And the value will be e.currentTarget. And this can be .id.to uppercase. We can't use the selection because it's going to be behind a state. We'll also set active to false. So whenever we make a selection, we'll set it to false, and that should be good. So now we can make a selection. We can test it. We're not going to be able to see anything change. I guess we can see things change. So on and so forth. If we change the circle, it should only use circle. As you can see, everyone can reply. We're good to go. And you can see that the icon is going with it. So cool. Now we just need to kind of style this up and make it so that you can only view this whenever you click on it. Because if you refresh right now, I guess it is actually working. Is the top one working? I wonder. Whenever we do this, let's refresh this. The top one's not working, but the bottom one is. So let's fix this because that's something I must have missed. On our feed post creator, we're gonna want to go ahead and say, I believe there's still an active in here, right? So yes, there is active. So we want to hide both of these if it's not active. And I guess somehow I'm already doing that with reply dropdown and audience. I don't know how this one's working, but this one's not, but whatever. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. And we're going to go ahead and say, how do I want to actually do this? I'm going to do it like this instead because I don't like what I have here. Active, question mark. If we're active, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do this. Same thing with this, although this one seems like it's working already, which is strange. But let's fix this up. So active, question mark, and then we'll show this. Oops. So theoretically, now we should only be able to see it if it's active. So that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. If we refresh, nothing pops up. We click on this. That's good to go. Now we can go ahead and start styling this bad boy. So it looks like we should be on pace to hopefully smush this into one episode. It might be a little bit long, but let's just go ahead and I'm going to close out of this and close out of utils because we don't need those right now. And I'm going to copy and paste these. That way I don't accidentally typo one of these because I mean, I'm probably going to anyway. So now we're going to have a width of this one, 320 px. We're going to have a height is going to be 290 px. We're going to have a position of absolute. We will have a top of 32 px. I feel like we might be missing something. So, this is the dropdown dash modal. So we are missing, let's go back into feed post creator CSS. We need to grab the code for reply, I believe. So we have the reply restriction dropdown, and I think we need to grab that from, let me actually take a look at this, the other CSS really quick. Yeah, we're missing a couple things here that we need to move over. So before we do this, let's go ahead and grab the reply. I guess I already had the reply restriction dropdown, whoops. And let's get rid of this. So reply restriction dropdown, this is going to be position of relative. And then we're going to have our height of fit content. We're going to have a width of fit content as well. And then we're going to have our dot feed dash post dash reply dash restriction dash dropdown dash button. And I wasn't going to type these out, but this one I'm typing out just because it's not inside of the feed post reply restriction TSX. It's inside of the other one. So this one is going to have a width of fit content. It's going to have a height of 24 px. It's going to have a padding of 2 px and 8 px. It's going to have a display of flex. It will have a justify content center. It will have an align item center. It'll have a font size of 14. 14 px. It'll have a color of Twitter blue, so color 1D A1 F2 1D, there we go, that's better, and a font weight of 600. Then we need a hover effect for it, so let's copy this guy and say hover. And our hover effect will have a border radius of 75 px. It's going to have a background color of RGBA, and this is going to be 29, 161, 242, and 0.1. And then it's going to have a cursor, a pointer. And then we also need this drop down button disabled. So let's copy the drop down button and do dot and say dot disabled. And for disabled, it's going to be relatively the same. We're still going to have fit content, height, padding is going to be slightly different. So padding will just be 2 px. It's still going to have display flex in all of these, as well as the same font size. So let's go ahead and grab the font size. This we probably could have done a little bit better. Now the color is going to be RGBA, and let's say color colon RGBA, and this is going to be 29, 161, maybe 161, 242, comma 0.5. So it's going to be a little bit darker. Font weight again, font weight will be 600, and finally the cursor will be default. So we don't want it to do a hover effect or anything. And if we save, let's take a peek. I don't want to waste too much time here, but we can at least take a peek. I can see it looks the same. And if we change these, you should see it change a little bit. It looks like we might need a little bit of spacing in between those, but that's a pretty simple fix. That's no big deal. And if we go into circle, this part apparently isn't working. Let's double check that. So drop down button disabled. There should be a dash, not a dot. Let's try again. And there we go. That should be disabled though. So I think that I missed one thing. Let's come back in here, go into our util. And I think I want to get rid of the on click on circle because we don't want it to be able to actually click. I think that's just something I missed. So if we come back in here, we can't click on it now, and that's good to go. So looking somewhat good. If we wanted to, we could space these out a little bit better, but I'm not that concerned about it. So there's that. So now we want to continue working on the rest of this. So now we can get into our drop down modal. So let's go ahead and grab our drop down modal, copy this, dot drop down modal. And this one's gonna have a width of 320 px. It's gonna have a height of 290 px. It's gonna have a position of absolute. Position is absolute on the component. The top will be 32 px, and the left will be 50%. And then we're going to have a transform with a translate of negative 50% and 0. We're going to have a background color of white because if we don't, it might be actually end up being transparent. We're going to have a display of flex. We're going to have a flex direction of column. We will have a justify content of center and align items to the start. And we will have a box shadow on this one of RGBA 100, 100, 111.2, 0 px, and 7 px, 29 px, and 0 px. And I think I yoinked that off Twitter, so it should be about perfect. We'll have a border radius of about 16 px, and then we'll have a z-index. We don't need a z-index of 50 here. It's just what I put, so it's a little bit higher. You can have whatever, and then overflow will be hidden. All right, so that's our modal. Now going down the line, we need our title. So let's grab our title. So copy this, dot title. Here we'll have a color of black, no big deal. We'll have a margin, make sure we set that to 0 so nothing funky goes on. Our font size will be 17px. We're gonna have a font weight of 600. We're gonna have a margin on the top of 12px, margin on the left of 12px, and a margin on the bottom of about 4px. And now we need to do our subtitle. Let's grab our subtitle. Subtitle. So this one is going to be pretty similar as well. So the color on this one is going to be 536471. It's going to be like a grayish color. We're going to have a margin of 0 to reset everything on this as well. We're going to go ahead and have a font size for this one of 16px, so slightly smaller. We're going to have a font weight, font weight of 400, so it's thinner. Our margin on the left will be 12px, and our margin on the bottom will be 2px. So that is our subtitling done. Then we will obviously need our choice. So feed choice, and let's copy this. So for our drop down choice, we're going to have a width of 100% of the modal. Our height will be fit content. We're going to have a display of flex. We're going to have a justify content with space between. We're going to have an align items of center. We're going to have a color of black on this. We're going to have a padding on the top. A super inefficient way to do this, but whatever. Padding top, padding bottom. Whoops, can't type. Padding bottom, 8px. And then we'll have a padding right. Whoopsies. If I could type, padding right of 12px. And a padding left of 12px. So there's our choice. We need to do the hover, so we'll say dot feed port feed choice hover, and this will be a background color. Again, F8, F8, F8. We didn't really do a great job of reusing components here, but that's good to go. And then we need our choice left. So let's grab our choice left. So choice left, display will be flex. Our justify content will be flex start, and our align items will be in the center. That's good to go. And now we can do our choice BG. So now our choice background. And we're almost done with the CSS. So width will be 40px, height will be 40px, and our border radius will be 100%. I have a background color of our Twitter blue, 1D, A1, F2, and then we'll have a display of flex so we can center, so justify content in the center, align items in the center, and we will also have a margin right of 12px. All right, and now we just need one final thing, the actual display text. So let's copy this and do the text. So this one will just have a margin 0, padding, not passing, padding of 0, and a font size of 15px, and a font weight of 800, thick boy font. Now, theoretically, we'll probably have to debug something, but we'll see how bad the debugging is. We hop into Twitter. This looks good. There might be a little bit of extra space on the bottom that we might want to eliminate, but you can see that we can choose each one of these. You can choose circle, it goes away, and that is all ready and good to go. So that will wrap up this episode. Now we can select who can actually reply to our posts, and later on in the next episodes we're going to figure out how we can start being able to link our images, our GIFs, and things like that. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.